Hello, everyone. Listen and speak together.
Welcome to the Mrs. English Interactive Podcast.
Excuse me, everyone. I must inquire if the preparation of this beef has reached its final termination point. I wish to consume it before I depart. Oh, man. Did you hear that? Final termination point? My guy is just trying to ask if the burger is done, and he sounds like he's writing a legal contract for a tech merger.
Now, Hugo, let's be fair. Grammatically, he was flawless. His syntax was impeccable. He used a Latinate verb, inquire, and a very precise noun, termination. Technically speaking, there isn't a single error in his sentence.
Technically? Maria, if someone said that to me at a barbecue, I'd think they were a robot sent from the future to take over the grill. No one talks like that while holding a paper plate and a napkin. It's too fancy.
And that, precisely, is why we are here today. Welcome back to Mrs. English Interactive, everyone. I'm Maria.
And I'm Hugo. And today, we're diving into the stuck intermediate trap. You know the feeling. You've studied for years. You know the rules. But when you open your mouth, you feel like that guy at the barbecue. You sound stiff.
Or robotic, as our students often describe it. This phenomenon is actually a symptom of a very specific historical event that happened nearly 1,000 years ago. Today, we are going to explore why English has a dual lexicon, two separate sets of vocabulary for the same ideas, and how that split is keeping you from sounding natural.
Here's the thing. Most of you are stuck using the LinkedIn version of English when you're trying to have a TikTok conversation. You're using the heavy, expensive words when you should be using the quick, street-smart ones.
Expensive words. I like that, Hugo. But before we can fix the future, we have to look at the past. Specifically, the year 1066.
Here we go. Maria's inner history professor is coming out. Get your notebooks ready. Chat. She's about to get academic on us.
It is necessary context, Hugo. In 1066, the Norman Conquest occurred. William the Conqueror arrived from France and took over England. Suddenly, the ruling class, the kings, the judges, the priests, all spoke Norman French, which is derived from Latin.
Right, but the regular people, the guys working the fields and fixing the roofs, they still spoke Old English, which was a Germanic language.
Exactly. Consequently, for centuries, English became a tiered language. If you were in the palace, you used Latinate words like assist or purchase. If you were in the field, you used Germanic words like help or buy.
And that's the dual lexicon Maria is yapping about. We literally have two words for everything. And here is the secret. Textbooks love the Latinate words. Why? Because they're stable, they're professional. But in the real world, we use the Germanic ones.
This is why intermediate learners struggle. If your native language is Spanish, French, Italian, or Portuguese, those fancy Latinate words are your best friends. They are cognates. You see commence and you think, comenzar, I know this word. So you use it.
But then you go to a coffee shop and say, I would like to commence my order. And the barista looks at you like you've got two heads. Because a native speaker would just say, I'm going to start with a latte.
Commence is the technical term for a beginning, but it lacks the social flow that Hugo specializes in. If we look at the origin of these words, the Germanic ones are almost always shorter and more direct. Ask versus inquire. End versus terminate.
Wait, Maria, you just used a big word in the prep notes. Auxiliary verbs. Can we translate that for the people at home?
Certainly. An auxiliary verb is...
It's a helper word. That's all it is. Words like do, have, or will that just help the main action word do its job. Maria likes the labels. I like the functions.
I provide the map, Hugo. You provide the snacks for the road trip. But seriously, the reason this is a friction point for learners is that Germanic English relies heavily on something called phrasal verbs.
Oh boy, the P word. Everyone's favorite thing to hate. Phrasal verbs are those little combinations like pick up, get over, or break down. They're the heart of street English. But for learners, they're a nightmare because they don't always make sense if you translate them literally.
Indeed. To a B2 learner, extinguish makes sense because it's one clear word. Put out, however, feels messy. Why put? Why out?
It's a metaphor. Think of it like this. Germanic English is like a Lego set. We take small, simple blocks and snap them together to make new meanings. Latinate English is like a statue. It's one solid, heavy piece that never changes.
That is a marvelous analogy. The statue words are great for essays and business reports. But if you try to use statue words in a conversation, you sound
Stiff. Robotic. Like you're reading from a 19th century dictionary.
We see this a lot in what we call the intermediate plateau. This is where learners get good enough to be understood, but they stop progressing because their brain is stuck in that Latinate safety zone. They are terrified of making a mistake with a phrasal verb, so they hide behind formal words.
Don't do that. Mistakes are just data, people. If you say, I'm going to put off the meeting and you accidentally say put out, okay, we'll laugh, we'll fix it, and we'll move on. But if you keep saying, I shall postpone the gathering, you're never going to build that real connection with people.
It's about register. The LinkedIn versus TikTok rule we always talk about. You wouldn't wear a tuxedo to a beach party, would you?
Exactly. And you wouldn't wear a swimsuit to a job interview. Well, Maria might, if it was a very structured swimsuit.
Hardly. But the point is, your vocabulary needs to match your environment. In this episode, we're going to show you how to identify when you're being too Maria and how to start being a bit more Hugo.
We're going to break down the formality flip, how to take those heavy words and swap them for the ones that actually make you sound like you've lived in London or New York for 10 years.
But first, let's take a moment to process that historical shift. If your brain is feeling a bit fossilized, meaning those old mistakes are feeling stuck, don't worry. We're going to help you overwrite those habits.
I need a quick breather and some water before we get into the meat of the lesson. Maria, you want to go look at some more etymology charts?
You know me too well. Take your break, everyone. When we come back, we're doing a deep dive into the specific word pairs that are making you sound like a textbook.
See ya in a second. And we are back. Hope you grabbed a snack, maybe some coffee, or, if you're like Maria, a massive book on 11th century syntax.
It was only a pamphlet, Hugo. But truly, welcome back, everyone. Now that we've established why English is split into two worlds, we need to look at how this split affects your life today. Specifically, how people perceive you based on the words you choose.
This is the part that actually matters for your aura points. Because here's the thing. Studies show that choosing the fancy word isn't always a win. If you use too many Latinate words, people think you're smart. Sure. But they also think you're less trustworthy.
That is a fascinating psychological distinction. Research suggests that Latinate vocabulary, words like termination, assistance, or commencement, feels abstract and bureaucratic. It feels like the system is talking to you, whereas Germanic words, end, help, start, feel emotional, concrete, and real.
Exactly. It's the heart versus head thing. If you're at a funeral and you tell someone, I offer my assistance during this period of grief, you sound like a lawyer sending a bill. But if you say, I'm here to help, you sound like a friend.
Precisely. And this leads us to the most famous example of the dual lexicon, the barn versus plate distinction.
Wait. Barn versus plate? Maria, you're yapping again. Break it down for us.
Think about the animals on a farm. In English, the animal in the field has a Germanic name, but the meat on your dinner plate has a French or Latinate name.
Oh, right. Like cow and beef.
Exactly. The Anglo-Saxon peasants were the ones raising the CU, the cow. But the Norman French nobility were the ones eating the bœuf, the beef. This is why we have sheep in the field, but mutton on the menu. We have pig in the mud, but pork in the pan.
See? Even back then, the fancy people wanted to distance themselves from the dirty work. And that's what happens to you, chat. When you use only the Latinate words you know from your native language, you're accidentally putting a nobility filter on your speech. You're distancing yourself from the person you're talking to.
To bridge this gap, we must master the formality flip. This is the ability to recognize a single word Latinate verb and flip it into a Germanic phrasal verb.
Whoa, Maria. Phrasal verb? Let's hit the plain English rule.
My apologies. A phrasal verb is simply a...
It's a two-part action word. It's just a verb and a little particle, like up, out, or off, hanging out together. Textbooks make them sound like a scary monster, but they're just the Lego blocks of English.
Correct. So if we look at a word like extinguish, that is a Latinate, single word verb. In a formal report, it is perfect. But in a kitchen, you would say put out. Put out the fire.
Or discover. That's the Maria word. In the real world, we find out. If you say, I discovered the keys were in the car, you sound like a scientist in a lab. If you say, I found out my keys were in the car, you sound like a normal human being.
Let's look at a few more of these high-friction pairs. Inquire becomes ask. Reside becomes live. Continue becomes go on or keep on. Postpone becomes put off.
Put off is a great one. If I say, Maria, can we postpone the meeting? She'll say yes, because she loves a schedule. But if I say that to my friends about a movie night, it feels too stiff. I just say, can we put it off until Friday?
However, we must be careful not to fall into the informality trap. Remember our modern mirror analogy, the difference between LinkedIn and TikTok. If you are writing a professional email to a CEO, you should use assist instead of help out. It shows respect for the register.
Totally. If you yap in a job interview, you're probably not getting the job. But if you're mid at a party because you're talking like a dictionary, you're not making any friends. It's all about balance.
This brings us to a major struggle for B2 learners: fossilization.
Translation alert. Fossilization just means cemented mistakes. It's when you've said something wrong so many times that your brain thinks it's right.
It is a psychological plateau. Because your message is understood, your brain stops hunting for the more natural form. You might keep saying, I am thinking in my family, instead of, I am thinking about my family. Because people understand you, you don't feel the friction required to change.
And to break that cement, you have to consciously practice the more Hugo version of English. You have to force yourself to use those phrasal verbs, even if they feel messy compared to the clean Latinate words.
Think of it like a background app on your phone, our present perfect continuous analogy. Your English has been running in the background for years, but it's using an old operating system. We need to update the software to the 2025 version.
Right. And the 2025 version includes understanding that get is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of Germanic English. Maria, how many words can get replace?
Far too many for my comfort, Hugo. Technically, get can replace become, receive, understand, arrive, or buy.
It's the lazy person's best friend, and I love it. Native speakers use get for everything. If you're always saying, I purchased a coffee and subsequently arrived at my residence, you are working way too hard. Just say, I got a coffee and got home.
While Hugo's get strategy is efficient, remember that precision still matters. You don't want to lose your Maria entirely. The goal of a stuck intermediate is to have both keys in your pocket, the Latinate key for authority and the Germanic key for connection.
I'm feeling a bit brain rot after all this deep history and barn versus plate talk. I think it's time for a quick break before we put this into a real-world test.
A wise suggestion. Everyone, take a moment. Look at your notes and circle one Latinate word you use too often. When we come back, we're going to help you flip it.
Be right back, chat. Don't go anywhere.
And we are in the home stretch. Welcome back to our final segment. I hope your brain is feeling less fossilized or cemented and more flexible now that we've explored the history of our bifurcated tongue.
Bifurcated tongue. There she goes again, chat. Maria is literally proving the point of the whole episode. She just said bifurcated when she could have said split. Maria, you're losing aura points with the audience.
Oh, hush, Hugo. Bifurcated is a beautiful, precise Latinate word. It comes from bi, meaning two, and furca, meaning fork. It's like a fork in the road.
See? That's the modern mirror right there. Maria's word is a heavy textbook. My version is just a fork in the road. And today, for our real-world test, we're going to help you navigate that fork. We're going to do a little role play. Maria, are you ready to be the robot?
I was born for this role, Hugo. I shall embody the spirit of 1066 Norman nobility.
Perfect. So, here's the scenario. You're at a casual Friday afternoon happy hour with your coworkers. You want to ask your work friend, Sarah, if she's going to the office holiday party next week. Maria, give us the stuck intermediate version, the one where you're trying too hard to be correct.
Sarah, I must inquire if you intend to participate in the upcoming seasonal celebration at the corporate headquarters. I am contemplating my attendance, but I require further information regarding the catering.
Stop. Stop the tape. Maria, if you said that to Sarah, she wouldn't invite you to the party. She'd ask you to audit her taxes.
It was quite stiff, wasn't it? But Hugo, I used inquire, participate, contemplating, and attendance. Those are all C1 level vocabulary words.
That's the trap. You're using expensive words in a cheap conversation. Remember what we said in segment 2. When you use too many Latinate words in a casual setting, people actually trust you less. You sound like you're reading a legal disclaimer. Sarah wants a friend, not a contract.
Precisely. Technically, the register was incongruent with the environment, or, as Hugo would say, the vibe was off.
Exactly. Now, let's do the Hugo flip. Let's take those heavy Lego blocks and snap them into a phrasal verb. Sarah is standing there with a soda. What do you say?
Hey Sarah, are you going to the holiday party next week? I'm thinking about going, but I want to find out what the food situation is like first.
There it is. Thinking about instead of contemplating. Going to instead of participating. And the big winner, find out instead of require further information. You sounds like a human. You just gained 100 aura points.
It feels much more fluid. But Hugo, let's look at the other side. What if the environment is formal? What if we are in a job interview and the interviewer asks, how do you handle difficult projects?
Ooh, great one. If you use too much street English there, you're in trouble. If you say, oh, I just yap with my team until we work it out, you look like you're not serious.
Correct. In that context, you need the statue words. You should say, I collaborate with my colleagues to resolve complex issues. Collaborate is the Latinate version of work with. Resolve is the Latinate version of fix.
It's like our LinkedIn versus TikTok rule. You have to know which outfit to wear. Most of our students are wearing a tuxedo to the beach. They are so afraid of making a mistake that they stay in the safe zone of formal words they learned from textbooks.
And this is where the schwa comes in, that neutral vowel sound, a. When you use Germanic phrasal verbs, the music of the sentence, the intonation, becomes much more natural. You start to sound like you're singing the language rather than just reciting it.
The music of the sentence. I love that. So, chat, here is your challenge for the week. Pick one heavy word you use all the time. Maybe it's additionally.
Oh, I love additionally. It's so structural.
Of course you do. But next time you're talking to a friend, swap additionally for also or and another thing. Break the fossilized habit.
And if you find yourself struggling with prepositions while using these phrasal verbs, just remember the Google Maps analogy. At is the pin, on is the street, and in is the city. It's all about zooming in or out on the meaning.
Don't overthink it, people. English is a mess. It's a 1,000-year-old fusion of French knights and Germanic farmers. It's okay if it feels weird.
It is that very weirdness that makes it so rich. By mastering the dual lexicon, you aren't just learning a language, you're learning how to switch between different worlds of social power.
Boom. Mic drop. Maria, I think we did it. I think they're ready to stop sounding like robots.
I believe so, Hugo. But before we go, we have to give them the summary.
You got it. Here is the text message summary for today's episode. Stop using tuxedo words at beach parties. English has two worlds, the formal Latinate world and the casual Germanic world. To sound natural, swap your long single verbs for short phrasal verbs like find out or put off. Connection over perfection.
Beautifully put, Hugo. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the 1066 factor.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, chat. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And tell us in the comments, what's one phrasal verb that always trips you up?
We will see you next time on the Mrs. English Interactive Podcast.
Keep it real. Keep it flowing. Peace.